and now I'm gonna hop into either 1-3 or 2-5. I was hoping the 5-10, but they said they don't usually, like it doesn't usually run as often. It's usually scheduled, so I mean, hopefully 2-5 at least. But yeah, gonna play some cash. Let's get after it. Let me catch you up a little bit in this hand. It's our second hand dealt in. We have ace-5 of diamonds in middle position. I raised to 15, small blind 3-bets to 60. Like I said, it's our second hand dealt in, so we're not gonna get pushed around. We make the call, heads up to a flop in position, and it comes Jack 10-2 with 2 spades. We completely whiff, nothing going on for us. Maybe backdoor straights, but nothing. Surprisingly, he checks. This flop is better for me than it is him, but we don't even have 1 diamond for backdoor flush, so we check back. The turn pairs the 2, it's a 2 of diamonds. He checks again, which is super surprising, and since he checked twice, he can't really have too strong of a hand, so we throw out a bet, 35. He calls, and the river is an offsuit queen. I was already thinking how much I was gonna bet on the river, because we're obviously not winning with ace high, but we don't even get that chance, because he bets pot for 200, so he basically ruined our plan, and we snap fold before the chips even cross the line. This next hand didn't get recorded, so I'm just going to use a still frame from the previous hand. There's a $6 button straddle, and we have ace-jack offsuit under the gun. I raised it up to 30, middle position calls, and cutoff calls. 3 ways to a flop, and it comes queen 6-3 with 2 hearts. We have 1 over and backdoor potential, so we c-bet, we make it 30. It thins the field, and only the middle position makes the call. Even though we don't hit top pair, the turn is probably one of the best cards to come. It's the king of hearts. So both our backdoors come. We need a 10 for a straight or a heart for the nut flush. With all the additional equity and still only having ace high, I continue. I make it 80. He makes the call, so looking for some help on the river. And it comes both ways actually with the 10 of hearts. So we have the best possible hand. I have less than a pot size bet left, so not really much to do besides get it in. I announce all in. He smiles and chuckles a little and ends up folding, making me think that he probably already had a flush and we got lucky on the river. We win a few pots with our short time at this table, just being aggressive, either raising pre-flop or c-betting the flop and taking it down. Here's a quick example of that. We have ace-queen offsuit and under the gun 1. The under the gun limps for $3. We make it 15. The button calls and under the gun 1 limper makes the call as well. Flop comes ace high, the under the gun checks, we make it 20. The button folds, and under the gun folds as well. Pretty much how it all went down for 20 minutes, but our name gets called for the 2-5, so we book a $134 win, and we head over to the next table. The max at this table is 1,200, so that's what we buy in for, and let's get started. You know it's gonna be a good session when it's only your third hand dealt in, and you look down at pocket aces. Folds around to the cutoff, he limps, the button makes it 15, and we cold 3-bet in the small blind to 50. The cutoff calls and the button folds. Backwards of what I was expecting, but here we are, still out of position, heads up. The flop comes 10-9-3, all diamonds. Ew. Like seriously, ew. Probably one of the worst flops for 2 black aces. But when he checks to me, gotta throw some money out there before this board gets even uglier. We make it 40. He calls, so really just looking for a non-diamond, and it comes as the 4 of clubs. He checks to me again, and we make it half pot, we throw out 95. And it gets the job done, he folds. Not the most exciting hand with pocket aces, but it's a win. Good start to the session, I'll take it. The very next hand dealt, early position, limps for 5. The hijack, the guy we just played against, also limps. The cutoff folds, and we have pocket 3s on the button. We make it 20. The blinds and the early position get out of the way, but the hijack makes the call. So back-to-back hands with this guy. This time we're in position, so let's see if we can go 2 for 2. The flop comes king-king-5 rainbow. He checks to me, I down bet to 15, as I would with majority of my holdings. He makes the call. The turn completes the full rainbow with the ace of diamonds. He leads on this card, but pretty small, only 35. I really don't think he has an ace here, because if he had an ace, he probably would have raised pre-flop. Maybe he has a small pocket pair that he's just kind of seen where he's at with this lead. Even though this board hits us, can't really do much with our wimpy pair of 3s, so we fold. I played with this guy pretty much the whole session, and based off how he played, I'm pretty sure he had a king. This next hand, we have ace-jack offsuit in middle position. I raise to 15, next to act calls, and cutoff calls as well. So 3 ways to a flop out of position. And it comes jack 3-8, 2 clubs. I c-bet 35, next to act raises to 70. The cutoff gets out of the way, and doesn't really matter what I do, just smooth call or raise. probably gonna get it in on the turn anyway, so I just smooth call. The turn is probably overkill. It's a jack of spades. So we have 3 of a kind, best kicker. I check and flow to him. He bets all his reds, 95, and I just grab some blacks and throw them in the middle. Because it wasn't technically an all in, because he had about 3 whites behind. He basically went all in, but he still had some whites behind, so I wanted to make sure they all went in. They all do, and we flip. And he has Doyle Brunson, the club variety. Any non-club on the river, and we win. But the dealer breaks our heart and flips over the 5 of clubs. Luckily, he only started the hand with $200, because it could have been ugly. Looking to bounce back on this hand. Had a couple pocket pairs already, big, small. Now we're right in the middle with pocket 10s in the under the gun position. I raise to 15, the guy next to act calls, and middle position calls as well. So 3 ways to a flop, and it comes queen 8-8 rainbow. I c-bet, make it 20. The guy next to act calls, and middle position gets out of the way. So heads up to a turn. Turn is a brick, it's a 3 clubs. I slow down and check, see what he wants to do, and he decides to check back. The river is another 8, it's the 8 of hearts. I decide not to bet and just go into check call mode. Maybe I should have went for a bet fold strategy instead, because he checks back. By checking back, not really sure if he would have called any bet, but let me know in the comments if you think I missed out on some value on the river. The very next shuffle, we're in the big blind. There's 3 limps to me, and we have ace-jack offsuit. Ace-jack offsuit is a good hand, but definitely not something you want to go multi-way with out of position. So we raised it up to 45. Only the under the gun makes the call, so heads up to a flop. And it comes ace-king 7 rainbow. We've been c-betting a lot up until this point, so we decided to do something different and we check. He announces same bet, so easy call for me for 45. On to the turn, and it's a 6 of spades. I check again to him, and this time he slows down and checks back. The river is a 2 of spades, so it brings in the backdoor flush draw, but not too worried about that. I lead on this card for 75, hoping to get some value. He takes a few seconds and makes the call. I flip, and he flips over a better hand, king deuce of hearts. So what I thought was a brick river turns out to be his gin card, giving him a highly disguised 2 pair. With that hand and some others, we chip down a little bit, so we top off 500, and now we're in the game for 1700. Moving on to this hand, we're in the button straddle. The hijack makes it 35, the cutoff calls, and we look down at 7-4 of diamonds. If it would have just folded to me, I probably would have laid it down, only 25 more, but since the cutoff made the call, I'm getting a good price. So we throw in the extra chips, and we go 3 ways to a flop. The flop comes 7-8-9 rainbow. The initial raiser, the hijack checks, the cutoff checks, and we have bottom pair. We have a small piece, and this flop hits us more than it does them. So we throw out 50, and they both fold. I flip over a 7 and get shipped over the pot. In this hand, we're in late position with pocket 8s. I limp. The button raises to 20. I make the call, so heads up to a flop. And it comes 6-8-3 with 2 hearts. We flop top set, but we check and flow, hoping the aggressor throws out a c-bet. But he doesn't, he checks back. The turn is a jack of clubs. Can't have this going check again, so we throw out 25. Good news, he makes the call. The river is a blank, it's a 2 of spades. A lot missed, so I think the best move is to check and hopefully he goes crazy with his missed draws. He does not disappoint and he throws out 50. So now the question is, how much do we check raise? The book or the GTO move would tell you to polarize and go big. Something like 2x pot to 300. Because if he has a missed draw, he's not going to call any size bet. So really just trying to target his weird 2 pair hands. But not telling you what you should do, just telling you what I did. And we throw out 130. He doesn't snap fold, which is good. And he actually tanks for about 2 minutes. He's relatively new to the table and he hasn't really seen me play much. So he's shuffling his chips, talking out loud, saying it's a really good price. Looking like he wants to fold, but he ends up throwing in 80 more. We flip over our set of 8s and we take it down, confirming that it was a really good price because he wasn't going to call a penny more. A few orbits go by, we're in the button straddle his hand, and we upgrade from pocket 8s to pocket 10s. Folds all the way around, skips over me, now it's onto the small blind, he raises 35. Big blind folds, and now onto me, I make it 110, but no action, he folds. Onto this hand, we have king jack of spades on the button. There's an under the gun limp, the cutoff makes it 25. I contemplate 3-betting, but I haven't really seen the cutoff play too many hands, so I just smooth call, and the under the gun limper makes the call as well. The flop is a good one, it's ace king 8 with 2 spades. We have middle pair and nut flush draw. Under the gun checks, the cutoff checks as well, and I'm liking the board, liking my hand, so I throw out 60. Only the under the gun makes the call. Heads up to a turn. The turn is a blank. It's a 2 of diamonds. Under the gun checks. I'm going to continue the aggression. I throw out 105. He thinks for a little bit and makes the call. So now I'm thinking he either has a middling ace or a flush draw himself. Looking to improve, the river is a black 10, but it's a 10 of clubs. He checks for a third time. Like I was saying earlier about the read on the situation, if he has an ace, he's probably not going to fold. And if he has a middling ace, this 10 potentially could have hit him for 2 pair. And if he has a flush draw himself, he's not going to call any size bet regardless. So I check back with my showdown value, but he beats us with ace queen offsuit. Glad I checked back on the river because I probably wasn't going to get that to fold.
I like my hand.
Save myself around $300-400.
I really like my hand.
Continuing with the spade variety, we have ace 7 in middle position. I raise to 15. Only the big blind makes the call, so heads up to a flop. The flop comes 8-3-7 with 2 clubs. He checks to us, and I probably should have thrown out a bet, but we have middle pair and not really backdoor, straight, or flush, so we just check back. I might have got called lighter because the board doesn't really hit us at all, but it is what it is. Onto the turn, which it does hit us, it's the ace of hearts. He checks to us as expected, and whether this card hit us or not, I was going to throw out a bet. Lucky for us, it did hit our hand, so we bet for value, throw out 15. He makes the call onto a river. The river is a king of diamonds. Flush draws miss, straight draws miss, so when he checks to us, we just got to figure out what size to use. There's $60 in the middle, so we go almost pot size, we make it 50. He thinks about it for a little bit and makes the call. We'll never know what he had because he returns his cards to the dealer. Haven't really got involved in too many big pots, and I'm starting to get the jitters on wanting to make something happen. So when we look down at 4-3 of hearts in the small blind, it's starting to look more like a premium. There's a middle position raise to 20, folds to me, I make the call, and the big blind calls as well. 3. I check in flow, big blind makes it 40. The initial raiser in middle position makes the call. I really want to take control of this hand. I mean, we only have bottom pair, but there's so many cards on the turn and the river that can improve us. So I raise it up, I make it 125 to go. The big blind calls the 125, and this puts the middle position in a blender. He's the one that raised pre-flop, and now he's facing a check raise and a cold call. We discussed the hand a little later on off the table. He said he had king queen off, so top pair, and if the big blind wouldn't have called the 125, he would have made the call. So I don't blame him for tanking. With so little to play for, doesn't really matter what the turn is. I'm probably going to put the rest of the money in. And when the 6 of spades falls on the turn, that does not change our plan whatsoever. So we put in a stack of greens covering her. She thinks about it for about 10 seconds, but ends up folding. Wasn't expecting that when she cold called the flop, but hey, we win with a pair of 3s. This next hand, we have 10-8 offsuit in the cutoff. Folds around to me, I make it 15. The button calls, and the big blind calls as well. 3 ways to a flop, and the flop comes king, queen, 9, rainbow. The big blind checks, and I don't really want to bluff into 2 opponents, so I check, and the button checks as well. The turn improves us a little bit. It's a 6 of clubs, so we have a double gutter now. The big blind checks again, I check as well, and the button makes it 30. The big blind folds her cards, and with the additional outs, I make the call. The river is a 7 of spades, so we bink our gutter. I check and flow to the button, and she throws out a bet, 75. The plan is working thus far. We bump it up to 225, but the second half of our plan doesn't work. She folds. This is actually our first bomb pot that I was able to show on the vlog, so hopefully you enjoy. We've played several on this trip, but just nothing super interesting happened. At Resorts World, they do double board bomb pots, so you have to win both boards in order to scoop the entire pot. Everyone puts in $15 pre-flop, and then we go straight to 2 boards. We're on the button with Jack 9 offsuit. The first board is 6 of hearts, 2 of spades, ace of diamonds. Second board is queen of diamonds, 5 of hearts, 9 of hearts. I'm sure you're thinking, Matt, why are you showing this hand? You have middle pair on one of the boards. And yeah, I know, it seems like all the rest of the bomb pots that I've played so far. But just wait, we're in position, you know? Checks around to the low jack, he makes it 25. Folds to me, and like I said, we're in position, and I kind of just want to win a bomb pot, to be honest. We make the call, everyone else folds, so heads up to 2 turns. And on the top board, it's the 2 of clubs. On the bottom board, it's the 4 of hearts. Another swing and a miss. But the low jack checks to me. So maybe there is a small glimpse of hope in this hand after all. I've noticed throughout the trip, people play straight up in bomb pots. So when he checks, I don't think he has that great of a hand. Still on the top board, we have absolutely nothing. But on the bottom, we have middle pair and flush draw. There's $170 in the pot, so we make it 1/3. We go 60, and he makes the call. Looking to improve, at least on the bottom board, with either a jack, 9, or a heart for a flush. But neither boards improve us with the 6 of diamonds on the top and 7 of diamonds on the bottom. So we're literally playing the board on the top and our pair of 9s on the bottom. He checks again to me, and we can't win by checking back, so we have to throw out some money. The question is, how much? I feel like if I overbet the pot, it's gonna look a little too bluffy. So we go for more of a moderate, please call me type bet and throw out 125. He thinks for about 20 seconds, which feels more like 2 minutes to me. All I'm thinking is, please fold, please fold. Let me at least have one bomb pot this trip. And lucky enough, he does lay it down. I was pretty pumped getting my first bomb pot of the trip. So when somebody asked me to show, I proudly show my jack 9 and finally got a bomb pot to share with you guys. It's been a while since we looked down at this hand, but we have pocket aces again. There's one limper in middle position, folds around to me, I make it 20. The cutoff and the limper call, so 3 ways to a flop, and it's 7-3-2 all black. Limper checks, I make it 35, and both fold. Pretty lame, but still nice to get aces and not have them cracked. Moving on to this hand, we're in the button straddle. There's one limp in middle position. It passes over me, big blind makes it 35. The limper makes the call, and we look down at 7-5 offsuit. We're closing the action, and we have position, so we throw in 25 more. And we go 3 ways to a flop. And it's ace 6-8, 2 diamonds. The big blind, the initial raiser, makes it 25. Middle position calls, and we have open-ended and backdoor diamonds. So we raise to 100. I'd also be playing my 2 pair combinations, my set of 6s, set of 8s in this fashion. So have to mix it up with my draws as well. The goal is to either take it down right here or to at least thin the field, but both make the call. So needing a little bit of help. The turn comes a queen of diamonds. Decent card. If I was semi-bluffing with diamonds, it now got there. It does check to me as expected. This point of the hand, I'm at a crossroads because I could either bet and continue my story or just check and see a free card. If I bet and one calls, I'm gonna have to unload the clip on the river, no matter what the river is. So I decided to take the lower variance route and check behind to see a free river. The river improves us, but not in the way I wanted. It's the jack of diamonds. So we hit our flush, but a very small one. They both check again to me. I debate on going for some really thin value, but I feel like no matter what I bet, I'm only gonna get called by better. I would hate to bet like 150, 175 and get called down by 6 of diamonds or like a 9 of diamonds of some sort. So I check back. The big blind shows a set of jacks, middle position mucks, and I show my flush. This next hand isn't as cool as the last hand, but I still want to include a few like this. Again, just sharing the natty or not of that poker life. This hand we 3-bet to 70 in the big blind. We have ace king offsuit, 2 callers, 3 ways to a flop, it comes queen high with 2 hearts. So we have backdoor hearts, a gutter, and 2 overs. We c-bet 75 and they both fold. Easy game. The next hand we're gonna go over, we have pocket 5s in middle position. There's an early position limp. I make it 20. The button makes the call, small blind makes the call, and the limper gets out of the way. So 3 ways to a flop. And it's perfect, it's ace 5 jack rainbow. Small blind checks, I c-bet 20, the button calls, and the small blind check raises to 70. This is such an amazing sight to see on an ace high board, flopping bottom set, rainbow board, and your opponent check raises you. We want to keep all his bluffs in, and we want the button to come along as well, so we just smooth call. But she gets out of the way, so heads up to a turn. And the turn is a king, completing the full rainbow. Surprisingly, he checks to me. There's around 230 in the middle, so we go a little over half pot and we make it 130, hoping to charge his pair plus straight draws, possibly even 2 pair. He thinks about it for a little bit, but ends up folding his hand. I questioned why he check raised the flop, and he said he didn't have a king. So just a little confusing on what he may have had.
Why raise the flop then?
I don't have no king.
You don't have a king? I didn't have a king either, but...
Moving on to this hand, there's a $10 button straddle. We're in the small blind with ace jack offsuit. Under the gun 1 limps, under the gun 2 limps, folds around to me, and we raise to 35. This is the first mistake in the hand, only making it 35. Just way too small with 2 limpers. And I honestly don't know why I only made it 35. I could not tell you. Should have made it at least 45, if not 50. So for that price, both the limpers make the call and the button gets out of the way. So 3 ways to a flop, out of position. And it comes king 3-7 with 2 hearts. We really only have 1 over and back doors, so I don't really want to bluff into 2 opponents, so I check. And action checks around. So still 3 ways to a turn, and it's the 6 of diamonds. Brings in the backdoor flush draw, but still nothing going on for us. I still don't have much, but by them checking back, I don't think they have much either. So we throw out a small wager, $20. And this is another mistake I make in the hand by making it, again, too small. There's around 120 in the middle, so I need to be making it at least a third pot, if not half. Because again, for that price, they both make the call. And what I mean by saying it's a mistake, making it too small, is that our bet doesn't accomplish anything. I mean, if they fold, that's great, only risking $20, winning with ace high. But if even one of them calls, it doesn't really narrow their range whatsoever. They could have anything. So again, the bet, the sizing, doesn't really accomplish anything. The river is a 10 of diamonds. We still don't have anything, but I know for a fact they can't have the nut flush because I have the ace of diamonds. So we butchered this hand so far, and now it's time to finish it off. We can't win by checking, so have to throw out some money. We throw out $60. Again, another bet that's a little bit too small, because if I had the nut flush, I'd be making it a lot bigger. The first player throws her cards away, and the second actually tanks for about a minute. While he's thinking and tanking, I'm like, wow, this might actually work. But he disappoints and he calls and shows pocket eights. So good call by him, calling down with third pair. And like I said, much bigger sizings would have probably got the job done. This next hand, we have ace queen offsuit in early position. I raise to 15, the low jack 3 bets to 45. The small blind calls and I make the call as well. 3 ways to a flop and it comes 7-5-4 all hearts. Small blind checks, I check in flow also. And the low jack checks as well. The turn is a 6 of hearts. So we have the ace high flush. Only the 8 of hearts or the 3 of hearts beats us. So when the small blind checks to me, I throw out a bet, 75. They both fold and I show the ace of hearts. One of the players said he had the 8 of hearts, so glad he wasn't in the hand. All right, this is our last hand to go over in this long 7+ hour session. I'm in the button straddle, the under the gun limps, folds around to me, and we have 6-8 offsuit. We check our option, so heads up to a flop, and it comes 7-5-3 with 2 clubs. She checks to me, I throw out 10, and she raises to 25. We have open-ended, and she didn't make it that big, so we throw in 15 more. The turn is 8 of hearts, so we hit top pair. She leads this time for 50. Not really much else to do besides call, so we throw in 50. The river is a 2 of spades. And I kind of had a read on this opponent, and I really just put her on a flush draw this whole time. And she leads out quickly for 1 black chip, and I already made up my mind I was going to call any bet, and you can see exactly how fast I call. Takes not even half a second, and she flips over her hand. She has ace-9 of clubs for the missed nut flush draw. We play another orbit after this, but we end up racking up our chips, heading to the cage, and cashing out for the night.
Super long day of cards today, guys. Super long day. Started that $200 tournament, played for 3 hours, busted. I mean, that was kind of cool. I don't really play too many tournaments. I mean, I'm not really a tournament player, but it was still fun to get in there. Got some good content for you guys, for people that do like tournaments. So hopefully it can entertain in that way. But as far as cash games, started the 1-3. Played for 20 minutes, I think, won $134. My hourly there was, I don't know, I should have just stayed there, but got into the 2-5, in for 12. I rebought once for 500, so in for a total of 17, out for 1632. So I can't even think of numbers right now, but I think that's a loss of $68. But played for 7 hours, have a lot of hands, too many hands to go over, to be honest. But looking forward to going through the content, edit all the good stuff, and yeah, entertain some of you guys. But yeah, I'm gonna head back to the hotel. It's past midnight already, so I'm gonna get some rest and on to day number 6. Yeah, tomorrow's day number 6. Holy crap. Hopefully, get some better wins than I have been. I don't know, I can't even think. I'm super tired. My eyes are just, wow. But give this video a like, subscribe, so you can follow along this whole journey. And yeah, good luck on the felt, at the table, and in life in general. Remember, we woke up today. Some people didn't, so be thankful. I'm Natty Ice. Peace out.